The sun hung low in the Arizona sky like a bloodied wound, casting long shadows across the jagged walls of Echo Canyon as Jack Harlan urged his weary horse forward through the dust-choked trail. A lone cowboy with calloused hands and a heart scarred by years of loss, his wife taken by fever, his ranch claimed by drought, he rode not with purpose but with the quiet resignation of a man who'd seen too much horizon and too little mercy. But on this fateful afternoon in 1875, as the wind whispered secrets through the red rock spires, Jack's sharp eyes caught a flicker of movement amid the scrub brush, a crumpled form, barely breathing, stained with blood and dirt. He dismounted swiftly, his boots crunching on the parched earth, and there she lay, a young woman, her dark hair matted, her buckskin dress torn, a deep gash across her side from what looked like a knife wound. Her eyes, fierce even in pain, met his for a fleeting moment before fluttering shut, and in that instant, Jack felt a pull he couldn't name, a spark of life in the midst of desolation that would upend everything he thought he knew. If this opening has already tugged at your heartstrings and you believe in the power of kindness and second chances, please hit that like button, drop a comment below sharing your thoughts, share this video with a friend who needs a reminder of humanity's warmth, and subscribe to Moments of Love for more stories that celebrate the beauty in unexpected connections. Jack knelt beside her, his rough fingers gently probing the wound, wincing at the warmth of fresh blood seeping through his hands. She was Apache, that much was clear from the intricate beadwork on her dress and the feather braided into her hair, but in this lawless frontier where settlers clashed with tribes over land and water, such details meant danger. He tore strips from his own shirt to bind her injury, his mind racing with the risks. Raiders could be near, or worse, her people might mistake his aid for capture. Yet, something in her vulnerability stirred the embers of compassion he'd long thought extinguished. Memories of his late wife's final days flooded back, her frail hand in his, begging him to keep living. With a grunt, he lifted her slight frame onto his horse, her head lolling against his chest as he rode toward his hidden cabin in the foothills, the canyon's echoes mocking his foolhardy choice. Night fell like a heavy curtain, and in the dim lantern light of his modest shelter, Jack tended to her fever, brewing willow bark tea from his meager supplies and wiping sweat from her brow. She stirred fitfully, murmuring words in a tongue he didn't understand, her dreams haunted by shadows he could only imagine. Days blurred into a rhythm of care. He hunted rabbits for broth, changed her bandages with steady hands, and watched as color slowly returned to her cheeks. Unbeknownst to him, this stranger was no ordinary girl. She was Nita, daughter of Chief Taza of the Chiricahua Apache, fleeing a brutal ambush by rival warriors who sought to claim her as leverage in a brewing war over sacred lands. Hiding her identity was her only shield, for revelation could mean death, for her, and now for this unwitting savior. As weeks passed, Nita's strength returned under Jack's watchful eye, though pain lingered in her movements and suspicion in her gaze. She observed him from the corner of the cabin, this tall man with sun-weathered skin and eyes like stormy skies, who spoke little but worked tirelessly, chopping wood, mending fences, and sharing his sparse meals without expectation. The canyon's isolation became their fragile sanctuary, but challenges mounted like gathering storm clouds. Jack's own demons resurfaced, nightmares of his wife's grave, the guilt of abandoning his old life, and now the gnawing fear that harboring an Apache could brand him an outlaw among his kind. He struggled with the silence between them, her reluctance to reveal her past mirroring his own buried sorrows, yet in quiet moments, watching the stars together from the porch, or when he taught her to mend a saddle, they found unspoken bridges. Nita, torn between gratitude and the weight of her secret, wrestled with betrayal. Her father's warriors were surely searching, and trusting a white man went against every lesson of survival she'd learned. One evening, as a distant howl pierced the night, she attempted to slip away, her wound reopening in the haste, only to collapse at the canyon's edge. Jack found her at dawn, carrying her back with a mix of frustration and tenderness that cracked his stoic facade. Why run? He might have asked if words flowed easily, but instead, he simply held her as she wept, the first tears she'd allowed since her flight began. This vulnerability sparked a shift. Nita began sharing fragments of her world, the legends of her people, the sacred canyons that held their spirits, while Jack opened about his losses, his voice rough with emotion he'd suppressed for years. Their bond deepened amid the rugged beauty of the landscape, where wildflowers bloomed defiantly in cracked earth, symbolizing the resilience they both craved. Suspense built as whispers of pursuit echoed closer. Scouts from rival tribes scoured the canyons, driven by vengeance against Chief Taza, while rumors of a missing Apache princess reached settler towns, painting Jack as a potential abductor. He faced his greatest trial when a posse of ranchers, old acquaintances hardened by border skirmishes, rode into his valley, demanding he hand over any savages hiding nearby. Heart pounding, Jack stood firm at his door, rifle in hand but unloaded, his loyalty to Nita, a woman he'd come to see as more than a stranger, clashing with the pull of his own community's prejudices. Inside, Nita hid in the root cellar, her breath shallow, praying to the spirits for escape, her mind tormented by the fear that her presence would doom this man who'd shown her unasked for mercy. The confrontation escalated, fists flying as Jack defended his solitude, taking a bruising but buying time for nightfall. As the posse retreated grudgingly, Jack's resolve hardened. He realized his isolation had been a cage, and Nita's arrival a key, forcing him to confront the hatred that divided their worlds. Together, they fled deeper into the canyons, evading trackers under moonlit skies, Nita's knowledge of hidden trails complementing Jack's frontier savvy. Emotional layers peeled away in these desperate hours. Nita confessed her lineage in a hushed moment by a flickering campfire, the revelation hitting Jack like a thunderclap, fear mingled with awe at her courage, and a deepening affection that blurred the lines of enmity. Struggles intensified as wounds reopened, both physical and spiritual. Jack grappled with forgiving himself for past failures, while Nita battled the guilt of endangering him, her heart aching with the forbidden pull toward this outsider who saw her not as a chief's daughter, but as a soul worth saving. The turning point came in a narrow gorge where ambush awaited. Rival warriors, led by a fierce rival suitor spurned by Nita's father, cornered them at dawn, arrows whistling through the air like vengeful spirits. Jack fought with raw desperation, his revolver barking against bows, shielding Nita as she wielded a hidden knife with the grace of her heritage. Bloodied and outnumbered, they teetered on the brink of defeat, the canyon walls closing in like judgmental elders. But in that crucible, change ignited. Nita's cries summoned her own people's scouts, who had trailed her. Loyally, arriving like shadows to turn the tide, Chief Taza himself emerged from the dust, his weathered face a mask of relief and fury, his warriors overwhelming the attackers in a whirlwind of justice. Jack, expecting execution, stood tall as the chief approached, but Nita stepped forward, her voice steady despite tears, weaving the tale of Jack's selfless aid, the bindings on her wounds, the shared silences that healed deeper scars. The chief's eyes softened, recognizing in this cowboy the rare bridge between worlds, a man who embodied the kindness that could mend fractured lands. In a gesture of profound respect, Taza offered Jack a place among them, but Jack, knowing his path lay in reconciliation, chose instead to ride on, carrying Nita's feather as a token of their bond. Their farewell was a tapestry of emotion, hands clasped, eyes locked in silent promises, leaving Jack transformed, his heart no longer a barren plain but a fertile ground for hope. Nita returned to her people, her spirit fortified by love's quiet revolution, inspiring tales of unity whispered around campfires for generations. As the sun set on their parting, casting golden hues over the canyon that had cradled their story, one couldn't help but feel the profound beauty in such unexpected mercy, a reminder that even in the harshest frontiers, humanity's threads can weave miracles. If this tale of redemption and hidden connections has touched your heart, stirred tears, or renewed your faith in love's quiet power, please like this video, leave a comment sharing how it moved you, and subscribe to Moments of Love for more emotional journeys that remind us we're all searching for our own second chances. Before we wrap up, I'd love for you to comment below with the line, "Kindness bridges worlds." If this story resonated with you, let's flood the comments with that powerful reminder.